Good evening. I'd like to echo King David's prayer. It's the prayer of a leader from Psalm 4. Heavenly Father, we just pause before you now, the onset of this meeting, and I thank you that you are on the agenda tonight, God. Truth is that you don't just care about the business of Sunday, you care about the business of every day, so this time really matters. From Psalm 4, tremble and do not sin. When you're on your beds, search your hearts and be silent. Offer the sacrifices of the righteous and trust in the Lord. God, we just pause before you right now. We're still before you. We thank you that you're here with us. But Lord, I also just pray you'd help us make whatever internal adjustments we need to make to be ready for this meeting, Lord. If there's something that's weighing on us or distracting us, help us set it to the side. If there's anything, Lord, where you just need to acknowledge in our heart where we've fallen short, help us get that clear with you now. And God, as David got his heart clear, then his heart goes to the people. Many, Lord, are asking, who will bring prosperity? Let the light of your face shine on us. Fill my heart with joy when their grain and new wine abound. And God, I too just pray that for our community. This spring has been full of challenges, especially weather-related, but I pray that the light of your face would shine on us. And I pray for each one here, Lord, because they're on the front lines of answering that prayer, whether we'll prosper as a community or not. Pray you'd give them wisdom tonight. And God, I also just pray that there would be a tangible blessing in their life for choosing to serve and giving their lives this way. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Savers. Sabers. Rice. Dosher. McCurdle.
Here.
Barrington. Allen.
Here.
Charts. Smith.
We have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove?
I don't have anything I want to remove, but I've got a couple questions on a couple of the items. First, for Lyndon on the AT&T FirstNet equipment acceptance. There's still, well, at least in the industry, uncertainty of whether the AT&T equipment will be compatible with any Verizon or other communications equipment in the future. If we accept this, and I realize it's no cost to us, but it's a federal government grant at this point, do we still face the uncertainty that next year or the year after we might be required to replace all of our Verizon equipment to match the FirstNet responder equipment?
I am not sure on that, but we're using AT&T for this equipment.
For this equipment, you have to. It's a government mandate.
Right. Yep.
But
We know it works with that, and we've converted all our telephones or cell phones already for public.
For AT&T.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. The next question I've got is on the approval for the land lease agreement. The discussion, and I believe that's still in the consent agenda, right?
Yep.
The discussion in there says the cost outlined and that there will be future funds pursued on that. My question is, what happens if those future funds are not available someplace? Is the city then
The city can back.
required to budget that in the future
No,
then?
we can back out of it.
We can back out of it.
It's a no cost item.
And what's the time frame for knowing that?
Mr. Mayor and Council, so this is an application right now, and the deadline is April 12th for submittal on the first
I have no
application.
problem submitting it. I just want to know the timeline after the submittal.
So there'll be a couple months for review, and then by this summer, fall timeframe, we would be into some kind of, whether we got approval or not, we would get into some kind of agreement or negotiation.
So we might have it for 2020 budget time?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
If we needed additional funds. The goal would be to
Not
utilize,
requiring.
right, and utilize other organizations as well.
Right.
In essence, what this is, we're not buying land at $7,000 an
Nope.
acre. What we're doing is we've got some people in the watershed who are willing to work with us through NRCS and other agencies, and the land gets valued at a price up to $7,000 an acre or something like that. Mr. Croce, maybe.
Yes, sir. And so this is really a starting point. We've agreed to start at, okay, let's get a number out there to agree upon. And through the application process, it will be surveyed and appraised, and the title research and information will be made available as well. So the appraisal has to go through USDA and NRCS approved appraisers to get a true value.
I mean, right now, it looks like NRCS is willing to do about 50% of the cost of this land, and we're looking at the other 50% in some fashion. This allows us to put in for grants and whatnot to get that money, so there is no cost to the city
At this point.
at this point.
Right, at this time, there's no cost to the city.
And if it were to come into where there was a cost to the city, we could walk
Okay.
away without any cost
Okay.
associated with it, other than the time we took to
Yep.
put in the grant.
And so through the approval process as well, we would go through the title research and the survey and appraisal value. We would know if we were on the approved list for the agreement. And then there would be some cost to the city to actually get those appraised costs and the title and
Yeah,
the survey work.
Whatever cost of appraiser is.
Okay, thank you.
This does eliminate some cattle from the watershed if this happens to go through for us. So.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, wait. I wasn't quite ready. Can we remove item K and vote on that separately, please?
Item K,
Yes.
okay.
Do I need to make that as a motion?
Yep.
I move that we separate item K from the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to remove.
Second.
item K. Second by Mr. Rice. Discussion. Anybody in the audience wish to address item K? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, the remainder of the consent agenda. You still make your motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice, removing K. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of these agenda items? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Sorry, you're right. Roll call, please. Thank you.
Smith.
Aye.
Charts.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Dosher. Rice.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Sabers.
Thought you were done, sorry. I wasn't counting them properly. Motion carries. Okay, item K.
Move to approve.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Smith. Discussion. Are you-
I'm just going to abstain. Is that okay?
All right, yes, that's okay.
Do you need more information?
That's enough.
I don't.
I think so. Okay.
You're in the bills, correct? That's
Yes.
why you're abstaining?
Yes.
Okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Roll call, please.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts.
Abstain.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, citizens' input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. I do have two proclamations here that I've been asked to read. The first one is the Start by Believing, which is a public awareness campaign designed to end the cycle of silence and leading to change to positive community response to sexual assault. Mitchell is proud to declare we are a Start by Believing community and proclaiming that the first Wednesday of April is Start by Believing Day. The Mitchell Area Sexual Assault Response Team invites the Mitchell and surrounding community members to take a personal pledge. The kickoff event will be held on Wednesday, April 3rd in the Tiger Cafe of Dakota Wesleyan University from 11 to 1. Please stop and make your personal pledge and learn more about the campaign. This event is hosted by the Mitchell Area Sexual Assault Response Team. And we have a proclamation, Annual Start by Believing Day. Whereas the city of Mitchell shares a critical concern for the victims of sexual violence and a desire to support their needs for justice and healing. And whereas in 2018, the Mitchell Department of Public Safety received a total of 51 reports of sexual assault. And whereas current estimates suggest no more than 20% of sexual assaults will be reported to law enforcement, less than 3% will result in conviction and incarceration of the perpetrator. And whereas research documents that victims are far more likely to disclose their sexual assault to a friend or family member And when these loved ones respond with doubt, shame, or blame, victims suffer additional negative effects on their physical and psychological well-being. And whereas the Start Believing Public Awareness Campaign, a program of End Violence Against Women International, is designed to improve the responses of friends, family members, and community professionals so they can help victims to access the supportive resources and engage the criminal justice system. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Mitchell supports the Start by Believing Public Awareness Campaign and do hereby declare April 3rd, the first Wednesday of April, to be Start by Believing Day throughout the City of Mitchell. Dated 3rd day of April 2019, signed Bob Everson, Mayor, City of Mitchell. We also have a proclamation. It is Autism Awareness. Corn Palace will be lit up in blue, I believe, tomorrow on the 2nd. So 2019 World Autism Month and World Autism Awareness Day proclamation. Whereas autism spectrum disorders are a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, and speech and nonverbal communication. And whereas autism spectrum disorders affect at least 1 in 59 children and an unknown number of adults in the United States of all genders, races, ethnicities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. And whereas early, accurate diagnosis and appropriate education, intervention, and supports are vital to the well-being of those autism spectrum disorders. And whereas persons with an autism spectrum disorder should have access to the care, services, and opportunities they need to be happy and to achieve their greatest potential. And whereas the City of Mitchell, South Dakota, is honored to take part in the annual observance of World Autism Month and World Autism Awareness Day in the hope that it will lead to more research and better understanding and acceptance of autism spectrum disorder. And therefore, I, Bob Everson, Mayor of the City of Mitchell, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as World Autism Month and April 2nd, 2019 as World Autism Awareness Day in Mitchell, South Dakota, to raise public awareness and acceptance and understanding of autism speech disorder, as well as to increase knowledge of the efforts that have been and are being made to support individuals with autism spectrum disorders and their families. Dated this first day of April 2019, signed Bob Everson, Mayor of Mitchell. Okay, anything else in public comment?
I'd like to, I'd like to commend Kevin Thurman and his crew at the Lakeview for being ranked in the top 10 for golf courses in the state. Should have probably been ranked a little higher, but at least we're ranked.
Next year, right, Kevin? Good job.
Mayor and council, I'd like to bring it to your attention that Jason Hone has once again stated that he will mow and fertilize the Veterans Park this year for free. So
We appreciate that. Anybody in the audience wish to address council? Okay, anybody else on council have anything? All right, hearing and action on the application of Imagine Guild, Inc. for a special event liquor malt beverage license located on Main Street by closing the following. South block of Main Street from 2nd south to the depot, as well as Railroad from 1/2 block west of Main, east of Main to Lawler Street. Include both City of Mitchell parking lots, south of First Street and Railroad Street. Also requesting closing the valley on the west parking lot and allow to use the adjoining city gravel parking lot area between the alley and the public safety storage building. Also to obtain a special liquor license, consumption and noise permits, poker run permit, and associated costs for Memorial Weekend in Mitchell, and barbecue cook-off on May 25th, 2019. Gentlemen.
I'm John Jansen and Dan Schneider, and we're on the board of the Imagine Guild and Memorial Weekend in Mitchell. Most of you have seen our pretty faces before. We appreciate you guys considering this again this year. It's our 18th year, I believe, and as it stated, it's the 25th, and we're looking for barbecue cookout people, and we're looking for a big crowd, and we invite you all there, and if you have any questions.
Looking for judges again. Anybody wants to judge, let me know. Get the best of the best. JP's in.
So do you feel like the event has grown each year? Is it And are you able to raise quite a bit of money for cystic fibrosis?
Last year hurt us some due to the 100 and some degree heat we had that day, but we still donated 17,500. So we're still, you know,
And then we grew from the year before.
Yes.
But the heat seemed to, we're always looking for warm weather and get some damp weather, and it seems like damp weather doesn't hurt bad either, so as long as it isn't a downpour, yeah. It's been good. It's been very good over the last, it's grown and
And have the two of you always headed it up?
last 10, 12 years.
yeah, I've been on the board 10 years and then, but there's been various people, but we seem to get, nominated to come and visit, so, and we're
Kudos to
happy to.
you.
We're happy to because it's a friendly bunch.
Yeah.
Are you still pursuing the certification for the barbecue?
I'm still trying. The toughest problem we have with it is there's another event the next weekend up in Huron. And it's so tough to get these same groups to come 2 weeks in a row. So, and this one's been working good with what we've got. It takes a huge amount more of people and input to make that big event happen. You know, the Huron one has like a $15,000 purse. So you've got to find the input to get that to cover besides what we're trying to do to raise funds for a nonprofit. But yes, it hasn't been forgotten. It's just, it's been pretty tough. With the leadership and the help we've got, we've just kind of hanging there.
I think it's a great event. I just wanted to confirm that you're requesting the waive of fees of the city's part of $1,122, and you guys will cover $800 of the requested fees and picnic tables and all the other
Same as I've asked for the last 5 years.
yeah, okay.
And
Move to-
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, no.
I was just gonna say, I did mention in there a question about the insurance, and I believe that's on file someplace here, so, yeah, okay.
I'd like to move to approve the application and congratulate you guys on your hard work.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Turk, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Does anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 9, Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 10, action to table the Board of Adjustment hearing of April 1st, 2019 to April 15th, 2019. Yvonne Stewart, applicant and Mid-Dakota Properties owner, have made an application for a conditional use permit, a family residential child care center located at 517 North Duff Street, legally described as the south half of lots 1 and 2, block 14, and the north half of vacated alley, Raleigh's second edition. Northeast quarter 21-103-60, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Property is R4, multifamily dwelling.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Reconvene as city council, entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the city council reconvene the regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Rice. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 12, action to approve airport terminal sublease. Mr. Croce. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
So if you recall from, I've got to remember myself, a year or two ago, when we worked with Dakota Flight Center on a lease for the old terminal building out at the airport, one of the conditions in there was that Dakota Flight Center could not sublease any portion of the building without receiving prior approval from the city. City was approached a while back to have Dakota Flight Center rent out one of the smaller rooms in there so that AgTegra could maintain an office. They do, I believe, some,
Aerial application.
Crop dusting.
yeah, aerial application, there we go. I don't know, crop dusting, the word wasn't coming to me. They do some of that. They've been working through the Dakota Flight Center building So they're asking to formally put them under a sublease now. And I don't know if there's any representatives from those companies here tonight.
Okay, and I don't have an issue with, my only question is that this is mainly for past rent because it ends on June 1st, 2019. So do we have, it says the terms are June 1st, 2018 to June 1st, 2019, so that's only 2 months. And is there expectation of sublease beyond that time?
I believe that they would be looking to continue it. I thought that they had language in here having it renew automatically, but I did not double check that. I guess we don't need to, if it's not in there now and you want the approval to extend to that, you can sure make that as part of the motion tonight.
I don't have an issue with it, just as long as we know that it's, that the sublease is in effect and that's a condition of our lease. So I didn't see any renewal thing in there, but maybe I missed it too.
I may have been thinking about our discussions instead of what made it into their document, but I believe that they would intend to carry that forward. So if you want your permission to extend to that, at least for another year, you could make that as part of your motion.
I'll move that we approve the sublease agreement to include June 1st, 2019 to 2020, pending you confirm that with, that's their intent.
Yeah, well, I'll let them know that they have that option.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Is anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Action to approve city unmanned aircraft system operation policy. Mr. Johnson?
Not sure if I should take this one or if Lyndon should, but we're currently in the process of applying for a certificate of authorization with the FAA. A policy along these lines is something that they recommend to include along with that application. So this is a policy that Lyndon got from one of the international police organizations. We've adapted it a little bit so that it applies to the entire city instead of just law enforcement applications. Otherwise, it just kind of helps outline how the drone would be utilized and the processes that the city would be using internally to deal with our own drone operations. It doesn't have anything that would apply to the public or anything like that.
I think you've got to have this to fly your drone, correct, Mr. O'Rourke?
That's correct.
Just in the city or in the county too, Kyle?
The certificate of authorization we're applying for so that we can use it within the city and within the controlled airspace around the city.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to have one of these if you're just operating in Class G airspace, but we've got more than that here.
Mitchell, the whole city of Mitchell.
You use the drone very often, or?
Can't yet.
I think they have.
That wasn't
We got to have all this finalized before we can
Okay.
use it, so we've utilized the county.
Can.
Actually, the county has been using their drone.
Oh,
Are you
county.
talking about the pictures of the
country.
lake?
Yeah.
Yes, the county actually has all this. So the pictures that you saw of Lake Mitchell and Firesteel Watershed below and above the dam are actually taken by the county, were they not? Yeah,
Okay.
because we're not able to until we get all this red tape out of the way.
So who is the person that would be flying the drones? Who's licensed?
There may be several, but there's several licenses within the city that
Uh-huh.
would have to be present. Anybody can fly them, but like Justin's got a license, the mayor has a license, Mike Coster, we got some firefighters, several went through the course and got licensed in it, so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a question. From the legal standpoint, who owns the video that would be taken from this? Is it public information, and then would it be made available?
That would be a case-by-case basis, depending on what the subject matter was. You know, if it's pertinent to a law enforcement investigation or something like that, it may.
Is that outlined in federal and state law? Or
That'd be more the state law, open records statutes that we'd be dealing with.
Okay.
Some of it we may be doing under like a search warrant also. So it'd fall under those guidelines.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 14, action to approve A 2019-16 JVDTF Multi-Jurisdictional Powers Agreement. And this is an agreement that has been approved in previous years, and it's just continuing the process, correct, Mr. Overwood?
That's correct. This is the same agreement we've had before.
Lyndon, I've got a couple questions, and I don't have an issue with it, but there's a couple things that are outlined in here that I don't ever remember seeing. One, annual report that outlines the use and expense of the funds, and then what the allocation to each individual entity is as far as percentage of money that they have to contribute. Do we have that on file? Has this group ever published that information?
We haven't. I don't know if we've ever filed it with our finance office. We've got all the records. Right now, the other entities are paying $6,250 a year, and we are supplying the full-time employee. They do get some type of an audit done by ELO. I think it's every year, every other year. All those are available. But we can get it, and we can have it filed.
I think going forward, we should at least have that as an annual,
We discussed
some
that
type
today.
of update
And
at the beginning of
we can
every
sure get that
year
for
or
you.
something. I mean, it's a good program, but I just don't want to get to the point where someplace in the future, the task force decides they're going to spend $800,000 and we're on the hook for 70% of it or something. I mean, there's nothing in there that says that can't be proposed from that task force. The city could turn it down, but it could be proposed.
Yeah, we can get you those
Okay.
reports.
Okay.
You want me to just have them filed with the
No.
finance office, or?
Yeah, as long as.
Yeah, we can get them for you.
Because then the council, this council or future councils, whatever.
Has access.
Can get them back.
Right.
As long as this process or policy stays in place.
And we could also add it to our website with the rest of the annual
Sure.
reports that department heads provide as well.
So with that, I'll make the motion to approve Joint Powers Agreement 2019-16.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rice,
Second.
second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 15, action to approve resolution R 2019-23, declaration of emergency disaster. This has to do with the FEMA request, correct, Mr. Croce?
I did the staff report on this, but I did see we have someone from County Emergency Management Office, I think. No?
I'm just here
You're just here.
Don't want to be on the spot, huh?
So the disaster resolution is in response to the recent storm event that happened here in March. This would be the first step. The county is also, I believe, considering it tomorrow. All of this information goes to the state. I know that Public Works Department has been tracking all of the expenses that have come in from city infrastructure and damages that we've experienced. Kyle can probably answer any more questions if you have any.
Yeah, and that would include both the labor and materials so far that we can relate back to the storm event.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mrs. Charles. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. 16, action on resolution R 2019-24, plat of lot 21 of Airport Addition, a subdivision of previously platted lot 2, Field's Addition on the east half of the northwest quarter of section 4, township 103 north, range 60 west of the 5th prime meridian, city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
I'm filling in for Neil here. Hearing was made on this, and it follows the master plan, so it was approved.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Turner, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 7, what's that? Oh, item 17, action on resolution R 2019-25, a plat of Lot D1, a subdivision of Lot B, Block 1, Sunnyside addition to the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Once again, a hearing was on this one too, and it was approved by planning and zoning.
Wasn't there discussion of some sort of access or public access to this lot needs to be
Yeah, and
determined? I mean, it's a landlocked,
Yep, and I do believe you got a new drawing of it in the packet that shows the,
that's the one I got in the packet.
There should be the plat, though.
yeah, there's a new one in there.
There you go.
That does
Yeah.
show the access to it.
Oh,
On the north side.
oh, they're gonna go that way, okay. Okay.
There must be a driveway there or something?
There is not. And there probably never will be. This is kind of an odd situation because Davison County is the one platting this, but they are platting it intending to transfer it to Dakota Counseling, who owns the rest of Lot C. So as soon as it's transferred to Dakota Counseling, that easement's going to disappear anyway because it's all going to be one lot.
They're going to replat it into a single lot?
They won't
Dakota Counseling.
they won't need to replat it. I mean, once they own both,
okay.
once they own both, it's automatically terminated because you can't have an easement over your own land.
Okay, and that's the intent of why it's happening.
Okay.
I'll move approval of 2019-25 replatting of whatever, what was the name of this one?
B1.
Lot B, Block 1 Sunnyside Edition.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Barrington. That was.
Yep.
Okay, discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 18, action on resolution R 2019-26, plat of lots 5 and 6 of D&D Long's first edition, a subdivision of irregular tract number 3 in the northeast quarter of section 23, township 103, north range 60, west of the 5th prime meridian, Davison County, South Dakota.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this item was also approved at the Planning Commission. What the owners have agreed to, and they've met with Public Works, they've agreed to connect to sanitary and water, city sanitary and water, and pay their fair share of that cost for construction. They've also agreed to meet all the building code requirements as well as the civil designs to be provided by a professional engineer and go through the requirements for permitting, including excavation permits. Once the development or the area to the west of these two lots gets developed, the owners have also agreed that we would come into agreement or come into the city council and discuss annexation with their property as well, so that it makes a continuous boundary.
So, and just to make sure, so they have agreed for city water and sanitation hookup as part of this, even though they're on the other side of Maddie?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. That was my concern for seeing this, is that we might end up with with septic tank or something out there when would think maybe not while I'm on council, but at some point that other land would be developed and city services would be brought in, especially since Maddie Street and other discussions have already taken place.
Yes, sir, exactly. So the water and sanitary sewer connection is at the corner on that side, on the north side of First. So it makes it a little bit easier to make that connection and make that argument. We still will talk about construction of the roadway at a future date that makes sense as well for the development to the west and to their property so that it's continuous, and then the property owners would also pay their fair share of that construction cost.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 19, action to approve our 2019-27 resolution of intent to lease city property located at 514 North Main Street to the Mitchell Area Development Corporation.
Included in your packet is just a resolution of the intent to lease. Basically, what we're doing is providing notice to the public that the council will consider a lease arrangement between the city and Mitchell Area Development Corporation at the next regular meeting. The time and the date of the meeting or of the hearing is set by that resolution. This resolution will also be published, I believe, in tomorrow's paper as additional public notice for that next April 15th meeting. There is no action until that meeting on April 15th, other than to approve the resolution of intent, but no action on the lease.
Move the resolution of intent.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Savers. Excuse me. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. First reading ordinance 2019-03, bicycle updates.
Okay. Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance update based on a new law, South Dakota law, redefining or defining electric bikes. The state has defined electric bicycles to be more of a bicycle than a moped, and that would mean that there's no driver's license required, there's no insurance needed, no age requirement on Class 1 and Class 2 electric bikes, and there is an age requirement on a Class 3 electric bike. It also allows electric bikes to go on any path or multi-use path in the state, but it only allows Class 3 on paths next to roadway, or if the community allows them. So you can allow them on any path. So the board makes the recommendation to find electric bikes as a bicycle. And Cody is here from the bike shop, and he actually, did you bring a bike? If you want to see it, he would be happy to bring that up, and from Ron's Bike Shop. Yeah, come on in.
Right on in.
Write it in.
Yeah, yes.
It's not a horse, is it?
Are these different levels of electric bikes?
You would like to know.
Classified by how fast they go, or?
It's, I'm going to have Cody answer that question for you there.
To me, there ain't no difference between this and a bicycle. This just gives you pedal assist as you ride. So there's a motor down by the pedals, like an electric motor that gives you power as you go.
Can I have you speak into the microphone?
Yes. So basically, there's a motor in the pedals, where the crank is where you pedal, and it gives you assist as you pedal along. So if you're not pedaling, you're not getting assist. So you have to pedal the whole time to get assist if you want to go. It's just going to make you propel to go faster down the road. To me, I hate to say it, but older demographic that want to keep up with the younger guys and still want to be able to do a longer ride. Instead of doing a 15-mile ride, you can go do a 30 or 40-mile ride and still get the same exercise.
It helps you with hills and stuff.
Yes, exactly. There ain't no difference between this and a normal bicycle at all. It's just going to give you assist, and it'll go up to 20 miles per hour.
Costs a little.
Yeah,
What's this cost?
$2,400.
Ouch, that's a little more than my Stingray.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Which class is that?
This is a
Cody?
Class 1, so it's all pedal assist.
So tell us how you start the motor, like,
You just got to turn the power on. There's a power switch, and there's 5 different settings on your little screen here. There's Eco, that's going to give you the minimum amount of assist as you ride. There's Eco Plus, it's going to give you more assist, and there's all the way up to Sport Plus, and that's going to give you the most assist as you go along. So basically, I got this one as a demo bike for you guys to come down and try to ride and see if you want to buy one. They're fun, though. I've let probably a dozen or more people ride this, and they enjoy riding it.
I know some people have them, and you're right. They like bicycle riding, but it was getting to the point where
They couldn't do it.
up
no
in
more.
years to the point where they couldn't do it like they used to be able to, and that really helped them out.
So,
You want to explain it?
the class 1 is just going to be your basic electric assist. Your class 2 is going to be your throttle assist. So that's going to be like your front hub. So basically, you can pedal it, but if you want direct power, you just push up throttle, and it's going to give you direct power. And then your class 3 are going to be your pro bikes that go over 28 miles per hour. So, but you can set these to go under 10, 12 miles per hour. You can set it. There's a little app on your phone you can download through Giant stuff, and you can set it up so you can only go 12 miles per hour if you want to go that fast, or if you want to go up to 20. So,
And the bikes can still go faster, it's just that it only provides assistance up to that speed.
yes. So it won't give you any more assist than 20 miles per hour. If you want to go faster, you're doing all the work to go faster. So if you want to go 30 miles per hour, you're doing the extra work to get that going 30 miles per hour.
So if Mrs. Charks wants to race us off,
Yeah. So she can start riding us in.
I'd like you to call my husband and tell him that I want one of those.
Okay. Write his number down. I'll call him up. But I got one to demo if you guys want to try it out to see what it feels like and everything. So this is basically my demo bike. I feel like I'm going to sell some this summer. So they're fun. I enjoy riding it when I get free time too. So any other questions?
how heavy are they?
Probably weighs about 45, 50 pounds.
So it is a little heavier. than
Yes.
regular bike.
Battery comes off, so you can take it in your house and charge it. There's a charging pack and everything like that. If you're riding in the eco mode, you're probably gonna get about 4.5, 5 hours out of the battery life. And if you're riding in the Sport Plus, you'll probably get maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of charge out of it. But with the Giant model, it drops, say if you get down to 10%, it'll put you in the eco mode. So you can at least limp home to get home, so you still have assistance to get back to where you need to be. So you won't have to ride it on dead battery, because 50 extra pounds to carry around is gonna be a lot to push.
Don't I know that?
Yeah. So, but otherwise, normal bicycle. It's got gears. You got to pedal it to get the assist. If you're not pedaling, you're not getting nothing out of it. So, come down one of these days, demo it, see what you think of it. That's what it's all about. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, so I can go through each section of the ordinance that we were going to update. And this is to reflect our current practices on how we currently allow bicycles in town. Section 17-3-8B, we want to say that this section does not apply to bicycles because bicycles are currently allowed on the sidewalk except on Main Street and Veterans Park. Section 7-8-1, we want to include electric bikes in the definition of a bicycle. And that was the recommendation from the Parks Board. 7-8-1, we also want to add the definition of an electric bicycle. Section 4, 7-8-3B, we wanted to also cover our basis with the rules of the road to include trails, sidewalks, paths, and roadways. This would mean that, not to interfere with pedestrians, be careful and ride in a prudent manner, reasonable speed. If you're in the road, to be on the right side, no more than 2 side by side on the road, and a bicyclist must use the path whenever possible instead of the road. Section 5, we wanted to remove Section D in this 7-3-8 because and have it refer to 7-3-8B because they are the exact same. And then the last change would be 8-3-4 C2. A bicycle would not be considered, an electric bicycle would not be considered a motor vehicle or a bicycle for them. So any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So looking at this in the definition, and I don't know what pages exactly, it's on page 152 of my packet, but a bicycle or tricycle is defined under this, so tricycles are also included?
That's correct.
Okay. And then I have a question, and it's section 4, riding on roadways, sidewalks, trails, and paths, and I understand this is in current wording, but item 6 says, wherever a usable path for bicycles has been provided adjacent to a roadway, bicycle riders must use such path and may not use the roadway. Item 6 right there, and she has it up. So if here's my example, and I wonder if this, how old this wording is and whether it should still be there. If I'm on Cemetery Road at Main Street and riding west, when I get to Minnesota, I have to get off the road and get on the bike path?
That's the trouble we're having with it. We haven't defined a path. So a multi-use path in the definition under this should be an 8-foot by 10-foot wide paved path. I mean, that's so you kind of get into other definitions of trail versus a path versus a sidewalk.
Well, I was playing with the wording and wondered what's adjacent to a roadway mean?
Yeah, because
Does that have to be touching the roadway, or, I mean, the bike path on 23rd is what, 12, 14 feet away from the roadway?
the only example I can think of that I would define it, but would be on the bypass when you're going along Cadwell, you would get off the road and onto the bike path, but.
But that's, we don't have jurisdiction over the bike path. That's a state highway.
The state highway, but the police.
Do we still have jurisdiction on that?
Yeah, our ordinances would.
Our ordinance would still cover?
Yeah, Burr Street would be another one.
So if I'm riding my bike, I can't ride the bypass without getting off the road?
According to the ordinance, yeah, that's correct. Same with Burr Street. They want you on the bike path, not on Burr Street.
That would be the same on Cemetery Road, once you get to that.
Yeah, but there's nobody that does that.
I know, I don't even do that. I didn't know.
Well, that's my point.
If you don't have a mountain bike, you wouldn't get off paved unless you had a mountain bike.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't care.
But
I've never seen
that's
anybody
paved.
that
Yeah,
that's
paved you would get off.
doing the riding on that, get off Cemetery Road and go on the bike path and then get back on Cemetery. That's just not reasonable. People don't ride their bikes that way.
I don't
Is
know.
that language essential?
I don't know. I mean, maybe
It
not.
looks
That's
like-
the way the ordinance is
That's the way
currently
it's
written.
Yeah.
currently stated, but
Nathan didn't write it. That's
Right.
the way it
That-
sits right now.
yeah,
And I just looked, it says that it was 1984.
Yeah.
Somewhere I had it on here.
yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, 84.
So it's been a while ago.
We don't have to
Yeah.
require, we don't have to require.
I'm
all
just,
this. Yeah.
if we're looking at,
Yeah, you're right.
and I have the electric bike thing, and that's great, but if we're looking at revamping what exactly our bike path and bike policy is, to look at everything associated with it and not just keep adding bits and pieces
Yep.
and leaving old extraneous stuff that might not apply anymore. I mean, nobody's ever been cited for riding on the street when a bike path is available, have they? No. Lyndon?
So, Justin, if we wanted to keep some type of language like that, would recommended
Yeah, give us an
be,
out.
be at least show that we would prefer that you utilize the bike path where, because you bring up a good point, Burr and the bypass, we don't want them on the road because the traffic is a lot faster than it is on other, but
But if I'm riding cross country and I'm riding into town from the south, I'm not going to ride on the bike path. I'm going to ride straight down Burr. And I don't want to make criminals out of people for not riding on the bike path.
yeah, I would recommend either getting rid of it or have Justin kind of do a little wordsmithing and just put some type of recommendation.
I would almost just
Might be
recommend
cleanest to just
removing
take it
it.
out.
Removing it?
I mean,
I'm fine with
if
that.
you're going to have people riding on the roadway, you've already got another section that says that they're supposed to ride as far to the right as possible, and, you know, hopefully that addresses some of the.
Part of that wording's in number 5, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
One of those.
Then 2
Yeah,
abreast,
number five-
except for
number five,
paths
I
and
think.
parts of
2 abreast.
roadways and all that type of stuff. Yep.
No, number 4 was the one I was thinking.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
So you've already got some of that language there, and hopefully that addresses many of the concerns. But, you know, in my view, number 6 is kind of intended to encourage people to use the pass as much as possible.
And I have no problem with that, but I just don't think the wording is practical for how bikes are ridden today versus 35 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's changing even more. I mean,
Yeah, they're electric.
So I would not have a problem
Okay.
if you want to just remove subsection 6 entirely.
Okay, I would like to propose removing that, and then I've got one other question, and you have to tell me if this is still in the new updated part. where we say registration is required with the chief of police or designated representative for name and address of manufacturer of bicycle and number, style, and general description for all bicycles in town. When was the last time you had a bicycle registered, Lyndon?
Like a day or two ago.
Day or
People come
two.
in on a regular basis. We don't charge for it anymore, but they
Right.
come and license
And
it.
how,
record it.
how many do we have registered?
I don't know.
So we don't know. And how many?
I don't have my computer, that part in front of me. Had you asked earlier today, I would have.
We have it.
We have a whole, yeah, we do have a whole database.
We have it recorded?
We do.
Am I supposed to have registered my bike?
Yes.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess my assumption is that there's probably 10 times as many bikes not registered as are registered. And is this still even a requirement that we should have in the?
That's realistically to help you find a stolen bicycle, is it
Yes,
not?
that's what
Right.
it's designed for.
It's easy, it only takes about 2 minutes.
I can say that
It's paper
if
out.
the wording says it's recommended that we do that, but I mean, 90% of the population doesn't know that they're supposed to register their bike with the police department.
I had a bike that was registered and we gave to somebody. About 5 years later, the cops called us, they found it somewhere, and we'd given it away probably 4 or 5 years before that. It still had the, or it was still
Yeah,
registered to us, but
Yeah, I just, that's kind of what I, so
I mean,
I-
it's a good idea, but to say that it's required,
Required?
I don't think is appropriate.
yeah.
Maybe put recommended. You can put
It's
recommended.
good if a bike's stolen, you know who's.
Don't feel bad, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would even be recommended. I think if it's available, if you're concerned, if you had a bike like that, I'm going down and registering.
Well,
Absolutely.
At least I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to my insurance company with the serial number and other items, because then it's just as traceable as if I do it with the police department.
And if you want to change that section, I've got an easy fix for you. All you have to
Okay.
do is change the word shall to may.
Excellent.
There you go.
And change the title.
Correct.
To registration suggested or recommended or
Registration
available.
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 Okay. I will move approval of the first reading of 2019-03 bicycle update with those changes. One, the registration available, changing, what was it, shall till May, and taking out item 6 on, is it section 4?
Yep.
Yeah, section 4.
With,
D4.
with those two changes.
Okay. Have a motion? Second by Mr. Smith.
The only thing I had, Mayor,
Yep.
is the state law doesn't take effect till July 1st, right?
Yeah, according
These
to
would
that.
still be vehicles up until that point, rather than bicycles?
Because
according to
we
the
only,
state law?
we only can do what the state allows on this.
Well,
We, like Sioux Falls has adopted this, Rapid City's also adopted this, so I think
But
it's.
Sioux Falls is home rule, so
local-
they could.
yeah, I don't know that they would necessarily be prohibited in all cases throughout the city, but there'd probably be some conflict up until the state law went into effect. If you want to go around that, you can just change the effective date to also be July 1st.
That might be a good idea.
I will amend my motion to include the effective date of July 1st.
Okay. You got all that resolved now?
Miss Notes person? Okay.
Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this?
I have one more question I forgot to ask. So, never mind. I take it back. I don't have anything to ask.
Mayor and council,
I just reread my notes.
Yes.
I wasn't contacted on this, but we've had to kick some of the bikes off of the golf cart paths during the golfing season. And I don't know if currently you only allow
Yeah.
Main Street and where else?
In Veterans Park, the Parks Board can make a designation anywhere as long as we put up signage of where
Yeah, and
they're
I-
not permitted.
Kevin and,
So we
and I,
can-
I've been out there and I've seen I think some of those people are just generally confused as to where the bike path stops and the golf cart paths start. So I don't know. I don't know how you do that other than maybe better signage or something, but
We'll get some signs made over there in that area.
I mean, I've seen the same lady pedaling around there a couple times, but some people actually lost after they come up through the cemetery and they get over on like by 15 and they panic because they see golfers out there and they don't know what to do.
A lot of them coming off the bike paths are going to the restroom there on number 3, and then they take off on the golf course. They think they got all kinds of paths.
We can work with you, Kevin, and get that signed. Yep.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 21, first reading. You're going to love this one. First reading on ordinance 2019-04, grass in the park.
This is an outdated ordinance that says you cannot trample on grass in a park. So back then, they actually did not want you playing any games or activities on the grass unless it was designated for that purpose. So we thought we could take that out since we were digging into the ordinances. So
That dated back how far, Nate?
1920.
Couldn't climb the trees back then either.
You could not.
Oh, you know it did.
I'll move approval of 2019-04 grass in the parks update.
Second,
Motion by
on first
Mr.
reading.
Wright, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion?
Oh, just thanks for reviewing it.
He was coming up with all kinds of weird things one day. Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 22, first reading ordinance 2019-05, supplemental appropriations.
Mayor and council members, I provided a pretty detailed overview of each of the supplemental appropriation requests in the packet. Each of the requests would come out of either unspent contingency or departmental funds from 2018. The total of the request would not put the city over the structurally balanced budget for 2018. I can certainly walk you through each of these if you'd like. I might pull it up actually on here for me just because, hold on. Oh my goodness. Just because it is a little bit easier for me to follow along, and I don't know why that's so big. Yep, that's not going to work, I guess. Sorry about that.
And Mr. Barrington, this does include the Marty Barrington Beach House at Sandy Beach.
I will go through them this way on the staff report because I can't get my other one to pull up correctly. I'm sorry about that. The first one is the community visioning charrette that was approved and discussed by council last year. We did not get that started in the 2018 budget, so we have that to pay in 2019. We have supplies for this year. We did have to order the replacement camera and power over Ethernet for this room. We've got it kind of cobbled together working, and I've been monitoring it today, so it has been working so far. We have some professional services in both city administration and finance for bills that would have been paid in 2018 and they weren't. One is for professional service memberships. The other one is for ELO audit that wasn't completed yet. Computer hardware. We did have to cut our camera and door security installation budget down out of the 2019 budget. I did that knowing that we weren't getting all of these completed in 2018 and that we could supplement the funds from 18 into 19. You can see what buildings we have left for the automated door security system. I think I have them all covered on there. Now that we have the high-speed internet connection installed at wastewater and landfill, we will be able to add either security cameras or the electronic door software out there as well. Software, we had 2 software programs budgeted in 2018 that we did not get completed. The first one is inventory control. If you remember us talking about project accounting and moving into cost accounting, that was the necessary step to replace that third-party cost accounting software that we were using. We didn't get far enough along in the project accounting installation to really jump into the inventory control system yet. So we're looking at doing that this year now. Compensated absences, we know we have an upcoming retirement, so there was unexpended funds left in that salary budget, so we would like to roll that over. I don't really need to probably, this one, the street department, and each of the departments can give you more information if you'd like on this. They were doing a remodel in their storage room for the supplies. The street department does all the repairs for the other city vehicles. Because they were doing that remodeling in that room, they were unable to stock the supplies like they normally do, so we got to get caught up so they have the inventory necessary to do the repairs for the other buildings. We have quite a few here. The asphalt mix we're asking to roll over due to the additional repair we've had to do this spring so that we still have budget left for 2019. The next ones that you see here are maybe if you need more information, I'll ask Kyle or Kevin to answer those. But the first one is requested to come out of contingency in the amount of $333,000. That is to do the projects that you see listed there, to overlay Cabela Drive from Spruce to Raleigh. We also have overlay Raleigh from Andrews to Haven. And then, I can't read that far away. And then West Herman Drive. The first 2 are really, we saw a lot of deterioration with the detours that were used for 2 years with Burr Street. And then my understanding is with the West Harmon Drive that just saw a lot of deterioration over the winter. Kyle could speak to that if you have additional questions. The next one on Spruce Avenue, that's was budgeted in 2018. However, it didn't get completed just due to the construction schedule with Burr and weather and those kind of things. We still have some remaining payment to make for Burr Street, and that would be the portion of work that happened, I'm going to get this wrong, east of Burr to the railroad crossing, and then the landscaping that needs to be completed in this year. This one is one that we really would look for or seek some guidance from council on. There's been quite a bit of discussion about the additional parking lot at the rec center into that north of our existing parking lot where the county had offered to allow us to expand into there. Kyle put together a plan and a cost proposal for that. If council would like to see that done in 2019, that's how we would fund it. If not, and you want it at a future year, that could be moved to a future year. Snow removal.
Can I have you
Go ahead.
hesitate there just for a second? How important is that extra parking space at the rec center?
Yeah, excuse me, when we have our meets, it's, we know it's been busy and that parking lot's full every day when school's in. Summertime, probably not so much, but it's, Steve is a customer, so I don't know, he might have better insight on parking.
My only question, I'd like to see what the design looks like and how many spaces it would add, and then how are you going to, are there going to be steps or some sort of access way for the slope elevation that's different?
Yeah, there is a significant elevation difference, so there'd be fill brought into that site, and we can show you an outline.
You would
bring up some of the area. We'd have to keep some of the drainage and some of the areas low to keep the drainage on site, but we'd like to slope it back down to where the grade is now. So
I thought you might just end up with 2 different elevations, a lower parking lot and an upper parking lot.
Actually, I think we would, based on the amount.
Pardon?
Oh, I think we would. We'd have the higher parking lot at the rec center and then slope it back north to the lower parking lot, just based on the amount of fill we'd have to bring in to raise that parking lot. It'd be a lot.
Have you looked at the existing parking lot north of the rec center? It looks like to me it's irritating.
Oh,
it's not good.
It's torn up pretty bad.
It's bad.
They patched it this spring once.
And even the
It
road.
probably needs an overlay, and I don't know if that's part of this or not, but.
Yeah, that's not, that's just construction of the parking lot north of the rec
Does
center.
the school systems help with that asphalt? Have we asked them? They look like they park a lot of vehicles there too.
Yeah, we got a quote on it. I don't know if we asked the school at that time, but it was 40,000 to do an overlay there.
40,000 for
yes.
the current?
Yep. The
That
current-
goes all the way to the east?
Kimball, where they
Right.
park their buses, that's
Where the
really
buses
broke up
come
there.
in.
I'm not sure if it included, how much it included. I can't
You're not
remember.
sure if it's just,
Yeah. I think it's just the parking lot and not that area over there, because I think we would talk to the school about that.
okay.
One other question on the rec center. I've been going up there quite a bit. The sidewalk out in front's horrible. They doing something with the sidewalk out there?
Yeah, it's been, because of the salting and
Yeah.
everything, it's definitely
It's dangerous.
having some trouble there. Something we'll be looking at. That and the parking lot needs repair.
So in the picture, you're talking the parking lot, it's all on the north side of the trees that are all there. And I'm assuming, based on past history in Mitchell, the trees would stay for as many as possible. And then there would be some sort of walk access to get to the lower parking lot or something. That's why I was curious about the design.
Yeah, that's correct. We'd be able to access from.
Are you going
both
to be able
parking
to
lots.
drive between the two or not?
I would
It-
know, but.
We have a couple designs that we can show. The one for the 200 includes a drive path to the north side.
Otherwise, nobody will know it's part of the rec center.
Well, they'd know after the first time they went to a swim meet and parked down there, but yeah, that signage and wayfinding and other stuff would be, have to be part of that, I would think.
And we'll talk to the school about the driveway and see if there's some kind of cost share we can do with the parking lot as well.
There must be something in the joint use agreement about it, I'm assuming.
You'd think something. But
Yeah.
You were on the school board then, weren't
Yep. We had problems with the house to the north of that road.
Yep.
On a drainage issue and a couple other things with the gym use and other things, but I don't remember road maintenance discussions.
So really my reason for bringing that up is there has been conversation from council about wanting to get that done. It is not currently included in the 2019 budget, so if council wants that done, this is how you would fund that getting done. And then, Kyle put together that cost estimate based on the design. So that
When
one,
can we delete that? When can we vote on that one?
you can ask to have it removed at this reading if you would like, and then we'd have that amended before the second reading in action.
I'd like to have it removed so we could vote on it.
You want me to go through the rest and then you can
Yes,
take any
we will go
action on
through the
items?
rest of it
Okay.
if there's anything else.
The next one, snow removal, we're just asking for the unspent 2018 budget funds due to the additional snow removal that they experienced in 2019, which so far, because we still have the end of the year here, and that would allow us to not rely on contingency. And then we're asking for 2 items for storm drainage improvements, Kibbe Ditch, and that's for the staking for the work that's going to happen this year, and then Dry Run Creek. Cemetery had money that did not get spent for their irrigation project, and they're asking that this be applied towards that. They want to do some additional paving of the areas through the cemetery, and then they had a pump house and support skid structural improvements for their irrigation system. The MADC looping grant, I feel like we've been talking about this for 3 years, but if you remember when Performance Pet came in, we applied and were awarded a grant through the state of South Dakota that if we did, through the governor's office, that if we did that water loop, they would count that as an application for grant funds, and they will award the city 50% of that grant, and then we pass that grant back through development to Performance Pet for their investment. So we're nearly complete with that project. I had Deb run the invoice listing, and we have just a little bit left, but it should not exceed $75,000. It would likely be a a little bit less than that, but it's only going to be the pass-through of the grant funds that we receive. This is a little bit confusing. This is kind of accounting methods for government accounting. Because we're doing the Sandy Beach bathroom, restroom out of general fund unspent contingency, we need to transfer cash out of the general fund into the park fund so that they have the cash there to do the project. So this is moving the actual dollar amounts from the unspent 2018 into the park fund for 2019.
What do you guys think about that one?
I dare you to take it out of there.
I will only support this if we change it from Sandy Beach to Marty Barrington's bathroom.
We're calling it the Marty Barrington Beach House.
I'm just ready for it to be off my to-do list. So that's
No
good.
matter what it's called.
And then a couple things here on the park fund. We've got capital improvements, $12,000. The council already authorized this. This is on their locker room remodel. Again, I need to point out the reason why they didn't complete this last year is the department head, Nate Powell, did a really good job of monitoring where the expenditures were at to make sure that the revenue that was coming in was going to cover what their total expenditures were. So he did not complete that and I spelled that wrong, excuse me. He did not complete that in 2018 because he wanted to be sure that the budget was going to be safe when it ended at the end of 2018. And he did have plenty of budget and cash left to complete this project, which we talked about when the council authorized this work earlier this year. The rest here on the Capitol buildings, now $60,000 of this is for the actual budget authority now to construct that bathroom. So first we did the transfer of cash, and now this is to actually take the money out of the park fund that we just transferred and actually do the work.
So we got $60,000 for the Barrington bathhouse and $26,000 to finish Northridge.
Correct.
Okay.
And there is sufficient cash left in the fund for both of those projects.
Okay. And I went through part of this on Wednesday with Stephanie and looking at the Parks Department budget and allocation, and I want to congratulate Nathan on watching that money. We added a huge expense and revenue item with the new pool and bringing that online and getting people signed up on different programs and things that were different than the previous year, and watching that money spent and ending up with the expenditures less than or with expenses less than expenditures for that time frame, and looking at that gives me good hope that as we look at a full year in 2019, we'll even have a better idea of what the expense and revenues are for the rec center portion, and then how we look at that and allocate it to the rest of the parks and sports complex. So thank you for watching that and just spending just the money that we have. So.
And then the only other comment that I have is at the second reading and action at the next meeting, we also have a couple proposals that we'll bring to council for you to consider for designating some of the rest of the unspent budget funds. And one would be I have $100,000 down for the 27th payroll. I'm going to get that right yet. That will occur next year. We've already done all of the, right? Yep, 2020. So we've got everything covered for the general fund accounts, but we wanted to make sure that we also have the cash available for the enterprise fund accounts. So we have that to consider. I will also bring to the council, you may want to consider setting aside some cash and reserves in the event that you have other public nuisance concerns that you need to abate, and you need to typically fund those up front, and you may recover some of that cash out of it. But by setting that money aside in reserves, you won't have to necessarily go to contingency or end up at an unstructurally balanced budget at the end of 2019. So we'll look at those. I'll also have put together what our percentage of reserves are so that you can look at any other designations that you as council may want to consider at that time.
Well, I'm in agreement with Danny on the 207, but I don't think we can figure out exactly what we want after one meet. And the other thing is it is gravel, so it's not like it's going into a muddy mess. But what I would like to see, possibly, if you guys would go along with it, is maybe look at our own parking lot to see exactly what it would entail and the cost of it, and then also include some type of a walkway or to be able to connect the gravel lot to the asphalt lot. So at least it could be utilized in the future, and then we can make a decision if we want to put some money on land that we don't currently own.
Yeah, I think we need to prioritize our current lot that we have right there now.
Yeah.
Could we get the cost by?
That's what I was just going to say.
2 weeks, Kyle, or?
Would you guys like us to amend that one to have for the
regular
city,
parking lot.
the city lots
Lot,
first?
Yep, and then
Okay.
if you could share the design ideas
Okay.
with us, and it might not be included in this one, but it's certainly a discussion for 2020 budget, and the further
Okay.
we are ahead on understanding what land we own or don't own, and what the current lot and vis-a-vis the schools part of that, that type of stuff, to have that understanding.
So we're talking about this entire section here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Including the bus parking
Well,
alley, or?
we need to talk to the school.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe somebody needs to reach out to school to see, because
And in the design of the potential lot to the north, do we get all the grass? I know there's a fence there, and just all what's included to be able to see that. And it's at a pretty big elevation change. I mean, it's 4 or 5 feet, but
I think that grass is there too, to help soak up some of the moisture.
that runs off the, yeah, I know. So I think that would be.
Anything else that you would like to see additional information on for the next presentation? Okay.
This still allows us, we're all still structurally balanced and everything that we thought we were going to be 17 months ago.
Correct, yep. And largely because we received higher than expected sales tax revenue than what the budget was. So that really helped the budget in 2018. And the rest of it is projects that are getting carried forward.
Carried
because
forward,
they
yep.
really span more than one calendar year.
Yeah, okay.
So my only other question is on the overlays that we didn't quite get completed last year, and we kind of had a typical fall. I mean, it went late into November, but do we feel that we can just accomplish what we didn't get done last year, or do we have others that we're going to be able to put in on the overlay?
So we have the bid letting that is, I think it's April 23rd for, is that correct, Terry? For the overlay. So we really want to attack that in the first part of the year as soon as we're able to. We've already talked to the suppliers.
Are they going to have to close Burr again to finish it?
The DOT
Yeah.
is going to be at Burr Street to finish. That's right.
Will they have to close it, or will it remain open?
It should remain open. Yeah.
Part of why we didn't get some of that overlay done was because they were late, and we were still using that as a bypass.
Right, that's correct. So we're really trying to get the overlay for Spruce and Cabela and Raleigh done early on this year. And then we'll focus on the overlays for the parking lot as well the rest of the summer.
Kyle, just, I know that there's a few other things that have to be done yet to Burr Street, is that correct? When will that happen, and how long will it take?
They actually, I think their contract is completed this June, so they should be finishing up the rest of the landscaping and the sidewalks as well, curbs that need to go, the medians. So they should be finishing up over the next 3-4 months. But I believe it is June, isn't it, the end date?
But to clarify, the landscaping actually that will go in those center medians is a city project, not a state project. They gave us a credit back for that. So according to our landscape architect, you either do that in the spring or the fall. We can't really do it in the spring because they're not done there. So you'll likely not see those plantings till fall.
Right, we'll coordinate after
Is
they're
it, there's striping that has to be done yet, is that right? Or?
the second year is striping for the concrete. That's correct.
And there's still some concrete left to do as well.
Yeah, they didn't get everything done.
Yeah, there's bike path, sidewalk, and curb. There's concrete left to do.
And for those that weren't able to make the Sandboard meeting last week, do you have an update on that so people are made aware?
Yeah, actually, our first construction project progress meeting is tomorrow at 9 o'clock, right here in the city council chambers. The contractor is mobilizing this week, and they'll start at the First and Edwards area at the lowest section of the storm drainage area. So they'll start with the bore to Dry Run Creek and then move from there.
I'm going to take the opportunity for a shameless plug too. We did add 2 web pages, one for the Sanborn Boulevard construction, phase 2 and 3, and one for East Central Drainage. So those weekly meetings that Kyle just referred to, we do post those minutes online just like we did last year for Sanborn phase 1. If you missed the public meeting, you can go watch the public meeting. The presentation is on here as well as the schedule and the budget as well. And you can find those just under current city projects. They're all listed there.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Move approval on first reading
Motion by Mrs. Charles.
With
with
the removal
the
of
removal of the parking lot. Is that what we're saying?
Right.
and the potential addition.
Yes, yes.
The way I understood the amendment is to change the 207,000 for the new parking lot to be the amount needed to redo the city parking lot after review,
Yes.
correct? And the path, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. That's exactly how I would have worded it.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 23, executive session. Motion to enter into executive session according to South Dakota Codified Law 125-2-3, legal.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.